Good morning. This is Membership Sunday. Hope you all remembered, and I hope that you all who have had questions about Unity and Unity's co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, have a better understanding after the last 7 lessons about his life and teachings in Unity. I hope also that you understand that becoming members today involves no monetary or time commitment, but rather a spiritual commitment to further your growth and to live the principles that Unity and all religions and all spiritual paths teach. These principles, these truths, this wisdom have helped people throughout the ages to attain a higher order of life, which manifests in this life as peace and joy, love and abundance, often called the kingdom of heaven in the east and in the west, and enlightenment in the east. We call it here at Unity practical Christianity because it's a way to enhance our lives in every way through developing what Westerners call the Christ consciousness or higher self. It's developing or realizing our oneness with the divine. We don't have to develop anything because we are one with the divine, but to realize that oneness and thus appropriating the divine attributes of the one power and one presence in the universe into our own lives. And by so doing, we take on higher vibrations, to use the modern vernacular, and we thus attract to us that which relieves suffering, improves health, and brings many blessings into our lives. When we work solo or let our egos live our lives for us, we're out there all by ourselves as a little speck alone, and we don't let the divine substance of the all run our lives, we are actually working contrary to the natural order of things, and chaos develops. I imagine some of you have experienced that. We're swimming upstream, in other words. Life just doesn't need to be that difficult. This is all about relieving suffering and being at one with ourselves and life. We here at Unity seek to help ourselves and to help each other realize this divine consciousness in our thoughts and being, and thus create in us a state of harmony, love, compassion, forgiveness, and oneness with all life, which relieves the suffering and chaos in our lives. If that resonates with you, we hope that you will officially join us today. We'll pass out a sheet during the offering for you to sign with your name and your email on it. It's as simple as that. And then after the offering, we're going to ask you to come up here and give us your sheet. I'll read at the end of the truth lesson exactly what's on it so that you will have an idea. So when you turn in your sheet to my assistant, Shay Steckler, she will take your picture, and that will be used for us to know who you are, just to match the name and the picture. It won't be used for any other reason. And you'll be given a little gold card. I've signed it. There's a place for your name at the top, and if you would fill in your name when you have time, that would be wonderful. And you are officially a member. It's as simple as that. And we invite you to become part of our Unity family. And we pledge to help you with your spiritual goals and with understanding. Today, since we finished talking about Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore's life story and how he developed his ideas of truth from ancient, Eastern, Christian, and other teachings, it seemed appropriate for us at this time to delve a little bit deeper into some of his ideas that have been foremost in attracting people to Unity throughout the years. I'd like to share some of the thoughts that he advanced in his book, Atom-Smashing Power of the Mind. Fillmore knew that our minds create our lives completely, so it is critical to change our minds. specifically to quit letting our programming, thoughts, and emotions limit us in any way. He knew that we create our whole reality with our minds, so we can change our reality when we change our minds. And Fillmore felt like there was nothing we couldn't accomplish if we just realized how very possible and normal it was to create what many people call miracles by just changing their perception about life. He felt that health, happiness, peace, and abundance are normal and within everyone's reach. We've previously seen how influenced Fillmore was by the scientific splitting of the atom and its ability to produce the atomic bomb. He felt that it explained much of what can happen in terms of health, energy, and ability if we can release the God power found within every single atom of our bodies. We were talking about that in Sunday school today. It's just a little bit different terminology. It went into it a little bit more specifically, Eugene Fersen and Science of Being, but it's the same idea. Much has been written about our inner powers, and many have harnessed that energy for spiritual evolvement. Fillmore said that power is there to be released. We've all seen plenty of people who have done that in one way or another. Fillmore encouraged everyone to partake of this God substance, as he called it, that is everywhere present, including within us, not just in a few chosen ones. We are all the chosen ones. We have to choose ourselves, though. That's what it all means. Fillmore said, and I quote, "Science tells us that there is a universal life that animates and sustains all forms and shapes of the universe. Science has broken into the atom and revealed it to be charged with tremendous energy that may be released and made to give the inhabitants of the earth powers beyond belief." I'm sure we've all seen that in people, but he says we have it within each of us to do that. He said that Jesus evidently knew about this hidden energy and matter and used his knowledge to perform so-called miracles. There have been many yogis in the East who have performed miraculous feats by understanding this power. Walking on hot coals without any damage to their skin, sitting in sub-zero weather with nothing but wet towels wrapped around them, and other feats have been reported by many American scientists who have witnessed such things. And anyone who has ever observed the miraculous cures of Christian Science practitioners, as I have, can attest to the fact that there is something going on besides just what we can see and touch. Huge studies were done back in the 70s, and one recently, I understand, by Harvard. But back in the 70s, Harvard and Maharishi Yogi, who founded Transcendental Meditation in the East, proved that our brains and bodies, especially our brains, are physically changed through meditation, for example. And Fillmore and countless others have known that prayer changes us in many ways. And I've seen that back in the 70s. I had some of my students doing transcendental meditation, and I was just amazed at how many of them all of a sudden started making straight A's, and all kinds of miraculous things were happening as a result of it. Fillmore said, "Our modern scientists know that a single drop of water contains enough latent energy to blow up a 10-story building. This energy, whose existence has been discovered by modern scientists, is the same kind of spiritual energy that was known by Jesus and others who performed and used it to perform so-called miracles." Fillmore felt that science was discovering the miracle-working dynamic power of religion, but that it hadn't yet comprehended the dynamic power of man's thought. He felt that so-called miracle workers were not producing the miraculous results by themselves, but that they became the instruments of a superior entity. He said that Jesus and others who have harnessed this energy to heal or to help others don't have supernatural powers. They simply apply divine laws, thus releasing the atomic structure or energy of those who are restored to health or balance. These healers, like Jesus, didn't really heal in the technical sense that we understand. They restored by helping people see that they were already whole and not sick, and that they were full of energy and balance. Jesus, Fillmore, the Course of Miracles, and many other people and teachings tell us that it is our own minds that have the power to restore us physically, mentally, and emotionally. Many doctors today maintain that this is really what's doing most of the healing in most of their patients. Their own faith in their doctor, in medicine, or in the treatment. Much research and many scientists have indicated the same thing. If we could just develop this much faith in the divine that is within all of us, we could truly release this atom-smashing power for forces of good. It's our minds. It's all about a change of perception, a change of mind, a change in understanding. Fillmore said, and I quote, "Have faith in the power of your mind to penetrate and release the energy that is pent up in the atoms of your own body, and you will be astounded at the response. Paralyzed functions anywhere in the body can be restored to action by speaking to the spiritual intelligence and life within them." And remember, Fillmore healed himself. He had something power that somehow had his leg increase in length, because one leg, remember, was 4 inches shorter than the other, and his wife Myrtle cured herself of tuberculosis. The doctors had said that it was incurable, and at one point she only had a few months to live. She lived many, many years after that. Fillmore felt like prayer is the opening of communication between the mind of man and the mind of God. An opening of communication between the mind of man and the mind of God. It's not that we pray for something and a divine Santa Claus grants us our wish. It's that prayer connects our minds with that divine force of the universe so that we can use it and help ourselves. Supplication, faith, meditation, and concentration are mental attitudes that enter into and form a part of prayer. When we connect to the omnipresent God mind and become one with it, like in meditation, like what we do in here, we have begun to pray aright, Fillmore said. At that point, he says that we start releasing the indescribable power of the same invisible force that was released by the atom bomb, the primal life that animates and interrelates man's mind and his body. We can literally control that atomic energy in our bodies, which Fillmore says is completely natural. When Jesus said, "These things I do, ye shall do also, and greater," that's what he meant, that we too can learn to harness these energies within us and to heal and to bring about states in us that create heaven on earth for not only us, but everyone around us. We create heaven. Maybe that's how the yogis in the East walk on hot coals and through fire and sit in the Himalayan mountains in the cold with wet sheets wrapped around them. We don't know, but we do know that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore healed themselves and created a huge movement based on these principles, which worked for them and thousands of others. This has been documented time and time again. There have certainly been countless cases of people curing themselves when medical science said that it was absolutely impossible. So we have to assume that some people understand how to release what some consider to be superhuman possibilities. Fillmore maintained, however, that this is what we can and should all be doing all the time, controlling the atomic energy in our bodies and performing so-called miracles in our lives by transforming problems, situations, bodies, whatever. A spiritually developed man can do this, he said. Fillmore said that people know that pure energy can be harnessed for outward things, such as electricity, but that few have realized how much internal energy can be released in the form of healing the body, the mind, the emotions, and the soul. He saw Genesis and the Bible as a metaphorical creation story, which was symbolic of the work of the higher realms of our minds. Genesis is talking about how we create our heaven and earth and how we fill it with living beings according to our consciousness. The Bible says, "Seek ye first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you." In Genesis, it says that the earth and the beings of the earth were created in God's image and likeness, and that they were good. And so it is and should be with us. Genesis is our story. Remember, part of what unity is about is reading the Bible metaphorically, metaphysically, as parts of our psyche. Every person, every place, every event in there is helping us use, contact, and work with part of our psyche to become and to overcome obstacles and become what we want to become. We need to create our world in God's image and likeness, and it will be good. And then we will be vibrating at a level, if you will, where we will understand that everything in life is spiritual, everything, and that this spiritual energy is available to us. It's sort of like electricity, even if electricians don't totally understand it. We can use and manipulate it for outer purposes, but if that energy isn't really understood, much that it can do is wasted. We can all turn on the switch in our homes, but there's so much more available if we understand it completely. Fillmore says that our faith in the divine force in us is the match that starts the fire in the electrons and protons inside of us. Faith has its degrees of voltage depending on our level of awareness. When the trillions of cells in our bodies are roused to expectancy by spiritual faith, a positive spiritual contact results, and marvelous transformations at that point can take place. When Jesus said, "Thy faith hath made thee whole," he was using the same law, helping people release their own spiritual forces. By the same token, doctors tell us that it's the toxins generated in our bodies that really kill us. What produces this destructive force, these toxins? Often our own minds. The Apostle Paul expressed this when he said, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." There are examples of this all through the Bible and many spiritual teachings. Fillmore's reinterpretation of the Bible, according to its original meaning before the church got a hold of it, at the Treaty of Nicene, for example, and added and subtracted certain things. And this reinterpretation makes the truth in the Bible parallel to the truth in all spiritual teachings. Truth, capital T, as it should be. Truth is truth wherever it is found. No one religion or group of people has a monopoly on it. I've said that many times. That's part of what unity is all about. The eternal divine laws, or truth, have always been and always will be. Fillmore helped us access that in the Bible. Others have found truth in Eastern Bibles, like the Bhagavad Gita, or in Taoism, or in the Sufi teachings. We in the West have found it in the Bible mostly. But truth, capital T, truth is truth. And Fillmore, through all his studies, was able to point it out to us through the vernacular that we understand in the West, much like the Kabbalah teachers had done before him with the Old Testament. Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set thee free." And so it will. And one of these truths is that the divine in us has tremendous power that we can harness. To fully understand truth and release this atom-smashing power of the mind, Fillmore told us that there must be a change of the mind, a second birth, if you will, a being reborn. When that is done, we uplift ourselves spiritually to the point where greed and selfishness are not the motivating factors for our actions. A tremendous uplift and change can then come into our lives, what many call miracles. At that point, we know, as the Bible says, that greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. It's the divine in us, not the values of the world out there. In other words, every power that we need is within us. It is not out there. We just need to have faith in it and to harness ourselves to that, to harness ourselves to the divine, to God, which incidentally is what the term yoga means, union with or harnessing ourselves to God. Of course, in the East, it's Brahman, but it's the same thing. That's what all spiritual religions and philosophies really are about, is how to harness ourselves to the all. Well, how exactly do we do this? Well, for one, it is forming states of consciousness that are in harmony with the God principle. The scriptures of all nations testify to the existence of an invisible force moving men and nature. When we arrive at a certain point in spiritual understanding and start cooperating with this God principle, we rise above our animal instincts. Then we go beyond the stimulus response nature of primitive man, and we create something finer in us. You might think of that finer something as then a magnet that is able to bind or yoke you to the divine and to all good. So you might say that what we are about here at Unity is yoga, union with the divine. The twist is that we don't feel like it's a struggle to obtain something we have to work towards so much. We feel that we are already one with God, as there is nothing but God in the universe. Many of us come from spiritual backgrounds where God, though, is out there somewhere. We don't believe at Unity that that's true. We believe that the divine is everywhere, including in us and in each other, waiting to be realized in our lives through love and unity. But knowing it intellectually and internalizing it and manifesting it takes time. We often forget. And remember, we are undoing years and years of programming which does not usually include unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, and joy. That is why the Sangha, or the brotherhood or sisterhood of others on our spiritual path, is so very important. We serve as reminders to each other when we fall off the path and lose our way. So today, we invite you to join with us on our spiritual journey. We are a vibrant community and family of sincere seekers of truth. There's no dogma, there are no rules, there are no demands, financial or in terms of time. We welcome all spiritual seekers who want to learn and live truth, and by so doing, transform themselves into higher beings, happier and holier beings. In closing, I'd like to read to you the sheet that you will be signing if you join us today, so that things will go a little quicker. And so all you have to do then is just sign your name and email address. If you already became a member the last time, 6 or 7 months ago or so, you don't need to renew your membership. This is for those who haven't yet had the opportunity to join. Hopefully, this Unity membership covenant will also be a reminder to all of us of our commitment. And this is it. Unity Membership Covenant. I understand and align with the basic teachings of unity. I make my spiritual unfoldment and relationship with God a priority in my life. I do my part to support people's spirituality and to help them grow. I participate in the creation of a loving, accepting atmosphere here at Unity. I extend myself with love and warmth to newcomers and to those people attending whom I do not yet know. I speak with constructive purpose about the church and its congregants. If I experience a personal upset with the church or another congregant, I will seek guidance from Spirit through prayer and meditation, and then I will speak directly with the person involved so that I can resolve my upset. I recognize that my presence and participation at church services is a gift that enhances the experience for all. And so I make attendance a priority, although nobody's going to be taking roll and calling you and giving you a detention if you don't come, but we certainly encourage that. I honor the Spirit in me and the Spirit in other congregants. And that is it.